Now let's imagine a massive library overflowing with books, pages, turned over bookshelves. Finding anything specific in that mess would be a nightmare, right? Now that's exactly how working with unorganized code feels like. Clean code, on the other hand, is like a well-organized pharmacy, where you just go to the pharmacist, say, I want that, and beep, pop, boop, you got it. Everything has its designed place, making it much easier to find what you need. Also understand what's happening and ultimately work faster, because that's what we're here for. Today in the Weekly Code Quickies. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm NobleBM. Let's get started with how to write good and organized code, clean code that is. Now let's visualize the impact of clean versus massive code. There's a quick and dirty code which follows a path which might seem efficient initially. Let's just say you write code rapidly with not much planning or structure. But as your code base grows, it becomes complex and challenging to understand and modify. Fixing bugs and adding new features slows down significantly. Now let's imagine another line which is thoughtful and clean code. In this case, you prioritize writing code that is easy to understand and maintain. It might take a bit longer upfront, but the benefits, just like stocks, compound over time. The code stays clean and workable, allowing for faster development regardless of project size. Writing clean code isn't just about efficiency, of course. It's about creating maintainable foundations for your software. Now, let's be honest, this ultimately leads to more reliable applications, better products, and ultimately happier developers. So here are 10 essential tips for writing clean code. Tip number 1 will be meaningful names. A good example for this would be when you're naming a variable which represents the number of users. Instead of naming it CBD, you must name it number of users. So for example, for variables, I would suggest that you should use nouns that describe the data, for example, user age or total amount. For functions, I would describe what the function does. For example, calculate total, fetch user data. Or for classes, use single nouns like user or book or order. A user age of 25. A calculate total for a function which uses a action word which describes exactly what the function does. And user nouns to describe the type of the object, of course. Tip number 2 would be to use a single responsibility principle, SRP. Each function or method should ideally have one specific job. This keeps functions short and focused, making them easy to read, test, and maintain, of course. Think of this like a toolbox with individual tools for specific tasks. A good example for this would be a function that only calculates the total. Calculate total takes in 2 arguments, a and b, returns a plus b. Or a function that creates an object with extra details. Create calculation record, takes in a, b, and user. So remember, keep single responsibility principles at your highest level. Now, why is this good? Each function has a clear, focused task. The calculate total function only does the math, while create calculation record adds the extra details. Tip number 3 would be to avoid unnecessary comments. Good code should be understandable without excessive comments. Focus on writing clean and concise code. Comments are helpful for explaining complex logic or unique approaches, but overusing them can clutter up your code. For example, a variable like let user age is equal some kind of number does not need a comment, as it's pretty specific what it does. So the clearer code you write, the less comment you need to write, because it's already clear what it wants to do. Which brings me to tip number 4, which is readability. Use indentation, line breaks, and spaces to keep everything organized and visually appealing. Think of paragraphs in a story. They break up large chunks of text for better reading. Tools like Prettier and built-in formatters in IDEs can help automate this process. Alright, tip number 5, unit tests. This ensures each part of your code functions as expected. By testing individual units like functions, you catch bugs early and prevent them from spreading. Now, my tip number 6 would be to be careful with dependencies. Dependencies are external libraries your code relies on. While useful, avoid over-dependencies. Use dependencies only when they simplify your work or offer essential functionalities. Now, here are some tips for maintaining dependency efficiency. Limit them by including only necessary libraries. Keep versions up to date by using updated libraries to avoid security risks. And of course, separate logic. Number 3 would be to separate logic. Write code functions yourself where possible to avoid breaking code when removing dependencies. Tip number 7 would be to organize your projects. A well-organized project structure is crucial. Create a design folder for different parts like components, services, and utilities. This helps with navigation, collaboration, scalability, and overall code maintenance. You may also notice each time we're creating a new project on this channel, I'm telling you, do not save it on the desktop. Of course, you can do it, but when you're done with it, drag and drop it into a projects folder where you're then once again categorizing in which type of project that is. Is it an HTML, CSS, and JavaScript project? Is it strictly a React project? Is it a Next.js project? Keep things organized. Is it a specific type of application? Categorize everything. It will help you further down the road. Tip number 8 would be consistent formatting. Tools like Prettier and ESLint help enforce consistent formatting, making your code look cleaner and organized. Each time I'm creating a new course, I basically start with the same thing, installing Visual Studio Code and from the get-go installing Prettier, because you need to have your code clean. And I know how essential it is, especially for beginners who are already overwhelmed with the code itself, and then on top of it is unorganized. So keeping code simple and clean helps out a lot. Okay, tip number 9 would be to avoid hard-coding values. So my suggestion would be to always avoid directly embedding data values into your code. You may often see me do that, but that is actually for teaching purposes only. Instead, store values in variables, constants, or configuration files. This allows for easy code reuse and modification. Tip number 10, which is our very last one, we have limit function length. Long functions are difficult to understand and to maintain. Ideally, keep functions around 20-30 lines of code. Break down large functions into smaller functions, more focused on helper functions for better readability and maintainability. And here are a 4-1 for the end. These are some clean code principles. And these principles should guide you from foundation to clean code. Simplicity, strive for the simplest possible solution that accomplishes the task. Consistency, maintain consistent style and structure throughout your code base. Clarity, write code that clearly communicates its purpose. And efficiency, optimize your performance without sacrificing readability. Now, by keeping these principles in mind, you will approach coding with a design-centric mindset. Clean code is a skill that develops with practice. So keep learning and refining your code practice by subscribing to this channel and clicking that notification bell in order to get notified when I post a video, because we do a lot of projects on this channel and a lot of code quickies. We are also on Substack, so don't forget to check out the link in the video description below. So hope you enjoyed this episode, give this a like and catch you next time. My name is Norbert BM, take care, bye bye.